And we're live.
We're live.
All right, guys, welcome back. New change of scenery. As you guys can tell, we have a wall
Instead of doors.
instead of doors.
So what's up, Vic?
Just got to the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm still in my gym clothes.
You didn't even change.
No, I didn't change. I didn't have time. I was setting up this new edition.
You set up the new room.
Yeah, with
You're
help.
ridiculous. All right.
It's a lot of wires. We need to go to wireless.
Oh, my God.
Anyways.
So what's going on? What'd you say? Part
so,
2?
yes, welcome back. This is part 2.
To what we were continuing talking on
yes,
last time.
So last time, this is a new season, so we're going to go ahead and do things differently. And just to give you a brief example, I don't know how we're going to label it. We can call it A or B. We can call it 1 and 2 or 0.5, whatever, how you
Basically, now things are going to be different.
Yes. So
just
in the first
follow
episode,
along, and you'll just kind of have to figure it out. And it's not going to be difficult, but it'll be different.
They'll be back to back, so no worries. And we'll label them, hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we're going to go ahead. The first episode or the first show is going to be, an unbiased kind of what we've been observing and how that's kind of playing out currently. It's a little bit more current and it's a little bit more relatable, and you can actually find this stuff happening. The second part, which is going to be this part, is going to be not safe for work. This is probably something you don't want to go ahead and be playing out loud. And these are basically things you really don't want to bring up inside the workplace or anywhere public, essentially. And this part is going to be super biased, personally. And so
these are sensitive topics that, or the sensitive subjects or sensitive pieces
I wouldn't even
of the
say
conversation.
Yeah.
They're just pieces of the conversation that aren't being had. People may be talking about this stuff, but these parts of the conversation aren't being
talking about publicly.
Yeah, they're not. They're not just openly. So we're trying to push the
limit, see how much
the limit, and see how uncomfortable you can get.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be. I don't know what
it's just basically because we're in a society now where you can't really say anything. It's just too PC.
Cancel culture. Right?
Yeah, cancel culture. So it's like, you have to be careful with what you're saying. You have to be saying the right stuff. Like what we said last time as far as having a president, people would want representation that represents their beliefs. And so
we're just trying to get our perspective out there then.
Yeah, this would be somebody putting out their ideas without having to please everybody, Yeah. So
all right. So some of y'all are gonna get mad. To those who get mad, write something in the comments. To those who are looking at those getting mad in the comments, enjoy the show encore. I don't know, the after party, whatever you want to call it. All right. So let's go ahead and begin.
So what are we getting into?
So the next thing where we left off was politics, and have you voted, this and that, and some people wrote on there that, have you voted? No. Did not vote. And no voted. This is why. It's basically come down to 3 reasons, and these are the main 3 reasons.
Let me give you my reason first, because it's probably, the more set in from the family or whatever, and then you kind of go. Okay. But basically, the reason why I kind of don't vote is because the only real voting that I ever saw was my grandmother when she would vote for people that she knew in local elections. Other than that, I don't know her to have voted for any kind of state or any kind of bigger kind of stuff or whatever. But it was just on local elections, and I don't even know where. I kind of know where they would go, but I don't know how that whole process would play out. It wasn't just something that was, like, hey, we got to go and,
Harry, everyone's going down to vote. Come on, get ready, let's go.
Right.
It's a family outing.
It was more so like, my grandmother knew who these people were, and she was going to go and support them in like this local contest. So that's kind of, what I know of, and I just didn't know much else of,
anything else.
Yeah.
So
voting culture.
So years later, I'm born. And then years later, I get my first experience at voting. Keep in mind, I'm about 12, 13-ish at the time. And so in the household then, things have shifted and changed. And so my experience with voting would be, I went with my mother once to go vote. And it was at I don't know what it would be called, like a government building. It would just be like a
Like a
town
courthouse
hall,
or what?
like a
The
town
courthouse?
courthouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a courthouse, right? It wasn't our courthouse, but it was a courthouse, and well, the one in San Marcos, it wasn't that courthouse, rather. But anyways, point being is that we went one time. She went ahead and voted, and I asked her, who did you vote for? And I think this was the Obama. I think this was in '08, so I was about 12, 13. And so she went ahead and voted, and she said, I just went ahead and picked Obama, and then all the Democratic side and just left. I'm like, you don't did you know any of these people? Did you see their platform or what they're going for? And she's like, nope,
Mm-mm.
just voted.
Just got behind Obama.
Yep.
It was
Everyone else.
again. It was she. I don't even know if her to have a political opinion before then.
I don't think she did have a political opinion. We never really talked about politics in the household.
Right. So one other quick little tidbit too, because this kind of plays in. I kind of forgot because not having much of that culture was one piece, but then the second piece is when I was becoming of age, and this is what happens for most of young minority men in Texas, in the southern regions, or plenty of almost everywhere now. I mean, you could say, but basically, I turned 18 and was already facing felony charges. So my right to vote was already taken away as soon as I was given the right to vote. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of the case for a lot of young people. They get caught up. You have felony cases. You kind of just get out of the process, and you really don't pay too much attention to it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of another little reason why it's just not that big.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully things start to change, because most of those cases were, what are they? Minor possessions of
narcotics
or something
marijuana,
like that. Yeah,
whatever
getting caught up, basically. Not necessarily minor possession because they're felony charges, but having possession and getting caught up and doing stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Me, on the other hand, I'm a good noodle, so I've never been in trouble. So I am eligible to vote. I can vote. I don't choose to vote.
And that's what I'm saying. It kind of stems from, like, if nobody's showing you to vote,
no one votes in my family, so it's like,
yeah,
why am I gonna vote?
Right. And now, I've been always like an advocate to go vote, since even though I didn't necessarily have the right to vote. And then there's like another part too, that just not having the information, I didn't know that you could regain your right to vote after having felony convictions. I didn't know that after you kind of did your time or whatever, that you could then apply to vote. So there's that stuff too. There's a lot of people that just don't think that they get that right back. So
yeah. For people like me, it's just like the system's so messed up that why even bother?
Yeah.
And so I guess this kind of segues into the first topic, the number 1 out of 3 of why I didn't vote. And again, I'm not going to say which one I believe in, but you guys can figure that out when I start getting passionate about one of them. But it goes like this. The way I see it is that you have 3 possibilities in terms of how the future is going to play out. First possibility, and this is probably the one that's been going the longest, is that the majority of people can just kind of sit by and let those who are in charge of the government, and those who've been there forever, and how we always get another Kennedy, another Bush, another Clinton, whatever it may be, these family political names. We just kind of let them, figure it out, and hopefully it all works out for us.
Well, because up until this point, we believe that they had our best interest in mind. So now we're seeing that that's not necessarily happening, because things are just becoming so transparent, and
yeah. And then it's just instant access. It's also the idea of instant access to everything that we've had. And
it was this.
Oh, okay. Anyways, and so then that kind of, it makes sense that, if we can see what's going on, we can see kind of all the scandals and everything that's being played out, we should go ahead and, take some action. We should go ahead and vote. Voters should mobilize and all this other good stuff. However, this leads us into the second segue, option number 2. Do you have anything more? or no?
Just kind of that, how when you sit by and just kind of allow it to just do what it's going to do, then things you start to get extreme. And that's kind of where we're getting towards, this extreme kind of politics.
Yeah, and then that's kind of like our option to segue number 2. Segue number 2 is a little long, so bear with me. So, number 2 reasons why I don't vote is going to be that you can go ahead and you would have to mobilize your entire party, whether it be local, state, federal, or any other type of election you may have. And it's hard to mobilize everyone for one person. As we've seen, I think with this last Democrat Party or with the last kind of like dropouts, because right now we're currently at between Biden and Bernie.
Yeah.
However, while Bernie's seeing more popular and his reputation is pretty good, what it seems like, and this is going to politics, I don't care if you are going for Bernie or if you're going for Biden. However, Biden seems like he does have a little bit of this old kind of racism, old kind of sexism still with it, but yet people are behind him. And so it's weird how when you have the US people that are going for someone like Bernie and are getting these popular slash more delegates, and you have someone at like Joe coming up and they're neck and neck, at what point are you guys that are voting going to decide, hey, we just need to all go with one person and stick with that person? And so that I see is kind of hard, and I don't see it happening. And so I forecast that Trump's going to win the next election. Just going to put that out there.
Right.
Some of y'all are going to get mad, but if you can't mobilize your group, you ain't going to win. Simple as that.
Yeah, and it's a lot about what you're talking about, mobilizing your support. Mm-hmm. It's about it is what you said, you have to not only put the person that you want into presidency, but you have to go and put in your state and your local officials to kind of back them up.
Yeah.
It goes all hand in hand.
Yeah.
And so it's like trying to break this
the cycle of
the cycle of like what we're talking about,
crazy,
like, no, we haven't voted, like, well, the voting culture as well, because things are getting crazy. And if if the extreme politics, if you have a contender like Trump and then somebody like Bernie that are pushing these extreme ideas, and then you actually have support coming from extreme supporters that can do what you're talking about, mobilize, then you can actually do stuff. But it's not quite there yet.
As I foresee it, is that if you can't get as, I don't want to say petty or dirty, but basically if you can't play on the same playing field as the opposite party, if not better, quote unquote better, then you're not going to win.
Well,
I don't feel like you're going to win. So like if people start going behind Biden, I don't think they're going to win. I think you honestly need some kind of extreme measure like Bernie just to go ahead and just kind of like, one, like you said, mobilize people. Two, to go ahead and be like, we are no longer in this classic game of we have to sit by, we have to be idle, and that we now have to go ahead and pick a side.
Yes, and that's why you're calling this next election for Trump, and that the getting Biden to go ahead and be the presidential nomination for the Democrats is not it's not holding up next to a Trump contender, because you need something extreme. Trump is super extreme. We need something to go in the opposite direction. Especially with the times that we're in now. I mean, you can kind of speak into a little bit with this coronavirus, with how things, information is spread now. The coronavirus is just taken over. I mean, it's from everything from events being canceled to
people not going ahead and being close to, what is it called, social distancing? That's a thing. These new words, social distancing.
People that don't want to be next to each other, people that are going out buying all this cleaning supplies, and it's a big deal. So things just happen faster. It's kind of crazy, but like because this gets out, people start buying stuff up faster. Um,
It's a lot harder to control.
yes, it's
It's a
very hard
lot
to
harder
control.
to
Right.
control.
So you need like some kind of government to go in place and kind of be able to manage this. It's I don't
Yeah.
know. It's
It's
weird.
hard for
Like
people,
yeah.
especially older people, I think, just to even use technology, let
Hmm.
alone trying to figure out how to manage uh, everyone else on top of
Right.
that. And so it's just not feasible.
Like there's little ideas that come out here and there, and it's like, why can't we just grab a hold of this stuff and start, going full speed ahead? Because we're just not quite there yet. Talking about
Wireless technology.
well, the stuff
Oh,
with wireless technology, yes, but like where I forgot which country it is, but they're doing like to get screened, you call and they do like FaceTime kind of stuff or whatever, like they don't want you to go into the facility.
no, I haven't heard about
You
this.
didn't hear
What is
about
it?
that?
No,
That
what
I
is this?
forgot which country it was, but they were in, dealing with these people. Maybe it was even here. I don't know, but there's certain hospitals that were saying that they want you to call and to get pre-screened and all that kind of stuff before you even go in because they don't want you, you know, the risk of any kind of contamination,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's just like those ideas need to be propelled faster.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of stuff needs to be in place for something like this because once people hear about it, they go berserk. The information gets spread so quick, and people want to react. Just as fast, and so you need to have stuff in place. And without the right people in place, like with with the leadership we have right now, their indication is that this is not a big deal. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah.
kind of got to get on board with somebody who's leading you towards
Prosperity.
well the direction that we're heading in.
Yeah.
That's gonna like I said, it's kind of have your best interest at mind when we have this kind of stuff that we're dealing with now.
Yeah.
I went to the store and it was freaking crazy. It's like
Empty.
empty in certain spots, and it's
Yeah.
like, how did this happen?
No, people are
Like,
gonna start this whole. No,
well,
y'all,
because
y'all are
yeah,
gonna start
well,
this.
check it out. Like, so like the 2000 deal, right? When
Yeah.
everybody was like, "Oh my God, all the computers are going to go down and the world's going to be an end." You would have thought that that was really going to be the time that people would stock up and do all this crazy stuff, and they kind of did. But I don't even think it was as crazy as like what's happening right now with just a virus. They're not
Mm-hmm.
even at risk that everything is going to shut down, but people are like, no, I'm gonna go out and just buy up all the stuff that I feel like I need.
Disclaimer:
So
I'm not saying we're against the virus. We're saying that you should be serious about it. However, you shouldn't be ridiculous about it. Do wash your hands. Do sanitize. Don't be buying up
that's the
all of
thing.
Walmart's
Yeah,
hand sanitizer.
right, and that's the thing. Like, there's no government in place to kind of put out this information. It's just like we're heading towards. It's like you can just because this isn't safe, so we're just gonna kind of start putting it out there. So Trump like represents this establishment that's like put out fake information, do whatever, and make people scared, and then he'll say the complete opposite, to your face, and it's like, what the what what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying? Like there's no you can't trust what's happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's no trust. And with somebody like Bernie, it feels like you would have the information coming out that's in your best interest, that's on your side, and looking out for you. You know, so
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much where we're at with that one, and that kind of just segues into our third option. And so the third option is basically gonna go. Did you have anything
no.
else? No. Okay. So the third option is gonna go ahead and be that this whole system either needs to go ahead, or I should say, the second part of number two is that you can put your person in place. However, I think you need to expand your horizon in the sense that instead of just politicians being there, you should maybe have these other people from other industries that are just as big as government to go ahead and get in there. So, for example, you'd have someone with the railroad, be in some kind of high office because they've, figured out or they know how exactly this whole railroad system works and maybe could even get it up and going with a couple of helps from other people. Same thing with solar energy. If you really want solar energy, and all this energy sufficient stuff, you need to put someone who's a big advocate for this renewable energy into power, so on and so forth. If you are worried about AI, you didn't vote for Andrew Yang, so obviously it didn't matter. Um,
so yeah, definitely. Like I see what you're saying. Yeah. Like young people want to see a different structure of government. You're talking about integrating business with government, and yeah, like Trump supporters would totally be like, no, no, we're not gonna have a government telling the company what they can and cannot do. But right now, we're seeing a situation where people wish that the government would go in and say, why aren't you producing more of this product? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And because we don't have the logistics in place,
or why are you charging so much for this product?
Yeah, exactly. Without the logistics in place, nobody is foreseeing this kind of stuff or has anything, any systems that can go into effect to help or to not have these shortages. Yeah. So
yeah, that's the other thing to go into, and leading into and that's how you would remedy the situation. However, keep in mind that will take a couple of generations to figure out, and that just kind of leads us into our third topic. And the third topic is that this whole thing is just not working. It's just not working. That the way we're running government, the way we can theorize and prophesize how we can make government work a little bit better for us and everything, I'm not seeing it. I don't ever see it happening. And that we just need to go ahead and take this whole thing down and just redo it. I mean, this was an industry made 300 years ago. U.S. politics was made about, 300 years ago, roughly?
Yeah.
And it was probably all right for then because there wasn't a lot of people to govern. Information didn't travel as fast. Everything was a little bit more manageable.
It's a different day and time.
The only other thing you could do was, kind of be a farmer, be a tradesman, and just kind of help your city grow.
Yeah.
However, because of the new industries that we have, these industries that are just as big as the government, if not bigger than the government, and that goes from anything such as cars to phones to any kind of little computer chip to cameras to anything, I think we would need to go ahead and figure out a way to where we don't necessarily let these companies have power necessarily, but we have a group of people who are not affiliated with the company or gain nothing from these companies, and they are not in these positions for a lifetime and can be removed immediately, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And they can be changed just as much as the times have changed, because every 4 years it's a different issue we have to go ahead and consider. What was it 4 years ago? I don't even remember. What? I think it was sexism or gay rights or something like that 4 years ago in the last election. I think that was the biggest issue. So at that point, if you had people who were, a part of the LGBT community and you could go ahead and put them into office, you could go ahead and get things progressing that much faster. On the contrary, if you have someone who believes in anti-LGBT ideas, they could easily put you down too. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, while it's not a perfect system, it is an idea towards a different direction.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. Looking into the little segment we saw about flying cars, it seemed like the flying cars, the biggest problem with why we can't have a flying car right now is because we don't have systems in place from our government.
People, it's user error.
Well, not only that, but even if they get it ready in the next couple of years, because they already have the
ideas,
the stuff it's happening. They already have these. I forgot what the heck they even call them, but
I can't remember. But I think Uber was doing one.
Yeah.
But what Boeing, and Airbus were doing
getting one. At is that it's not a theory. They have actual freaking
designs.
Vehicles that go up in the air and travel
I don't
and
think they
land.
have actual vehicles
Yes,
going up in the air.
yes. They were talking about it in
Mm.
that segment that we were seeing. They're talking about right now that they could take a load or whatever, however many people fit in there. They could take them from one point to another point. And they said it's just that right now there's nothing in place to have this happening because it's a brand new invention. So even though it's a brand new invention, and let's say that they did figure it out, like how do we get this thing into production? The hardest part about that is how do we get this government to allow us to put these things in flight?
You get people who would strongly back against AI and figure out, hey, do we want to go ahead and incorporate these
And
systems?
that's
Do
what
we
we're
want to
talking
take away
about.
people's
That's what we're
right to
talking about.
flight?
That's what we're
If no
talking
one
about. There's
crashes,
big stuff. There's big stuff at risk. Like what one thing that they were talking about was what you had mentioned was if they
user
were
error.
to if well, not user error only, but if they were to allow us to do this, then they would want to track
Every person. Oh yeah,
every
so it'd be an
vehicle.
invasion of your privacy. So like,
Not
there's
necessarily an invasion. It's just that that's how it would be. It would be set up. Is that like the Ring, for instance, right now. The Ring thing is connected to every police department, so they have access to that footage.
hmm,
They don't have to ask for your permission. It's just already tied in. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Because
So
you agree to that stuff. So once you get one of these vehicles, I'm sure there's some kind of agreement that you agree that this thing's going to be tracked. So,
yeah, I mean, I would think it would be.
well,
I
yeah,
figured it would
yeah,
because they're trying to track drones right now,
right,
and so
yeah.
it's a drone,
It's
just
just
a bigger drone.
right.
So
It's
screw Elon and his
like
dirt.
for instance, right now your vehicle, um, you can't just disappear in your vehicle. You know what I'm saying? Even though
Yeah,
you're not being tracked, you can't just like
go off
disappear.
road and
Yeah,
just
you know what I'm saying? Like
unless you have the
right, right.
everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone can't just go off and
Yeah, you
off
can't
roading
just you can, but it's not that easy to just disappear. You know
in the
what I'm saying?
mountains and get lost.
That's why you register your vehicle. So it's not that far fetched to be like, and then when you were like, yeah, but they're gonna track you, and it's like you're already being tracked with your phone. You know what I'm saying? Tracking stuff isn't that bad of a deal, But anyways, so yeah, in order to get to that point, you have to have stuff in place. You have to have people with that kind of vision, a government that can believe that this is possible, that this could be the world that we would, live in. So
A government that gets it.
yeah,
I would
and
just put it like that.
right
It's
now
just a government that gets it.
we don't think that the government in place right now gets
Just
it,
they
and
don't
it's
get it.
like, oh, you're gonna
They don't
vote?
get it.
It's like
What are
it's
we
tough.
doing?
It's tough to get into this whole voting thing, but I think it's getting close. Like I said, I've always pushed for it. I've always been like, we need to get into this idea of voting. We need to make it a thing. And I think that, yeah, like you said,
I think
the generations coming will.
if anything this generation hasn't learned, and this should be the biggest lesson you should take home, kids. Anyone can run for president without any qualifications. Now, if anyone can run for president, and if you consider that the highest, office in the land,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like anyone could run for any of these public, uh, the government offices. And so keep that in mind. While we may be talking about government, there are also other agencies out there that we should really keep a closer eye on. And I mean, that's
like what agencies?
Like just all the agencies. What are they doing behind the background? Let's say the FBI, for example, the CIA. What does anyone really know about what they're doing?
See what you're saying. Yeah. But you have to be careful with some of that stuff. There has to be
I understand some of it can be secret.
Yeah.
But I feel like no one knows anything about anything.
Right.
And that we should know something about something.
Yeah. Yep. Alrighty. So that's it. Right now it may look like the same old government, but here soon it's having somebody like Bernie get a lot of endorsement. It's kind of proven to show that the future politics are going to be shifting. So
yeah. So see you guys next election. Hopefully.
Alrighty, guys. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Hopefully we'll see you later.
All right. See ya.